My friend and I embarked on a journey through a story to redeem the second and third male leads. Just as we found ourselves blissfully pregnant and eagerly awaiting a happy conclusion, calamity struck. The brooding prince of the capital, whom she wed, secretly kept a canary, while my own husband, the enlightened one of the capital, harbored a cherished first love in his heart. Together, they conspired to come after us, launching a live-streamed campaign of cyberbullying. My friend queried, "Shall we retaliate?" I replied, "If you strike, I shall too." In a moment of impetuousness, we found fleeting delight, only to regret our rashness in the dead of night, clawing at the walls in despair. Fearing retribution, we chose to feign death and retreat from the world, indulging in hedonistic pleasures with the substantial rewards we had amassed. Yet, our 2 years of carefree living came to an abrupt end when she was caught sprawled on the chiseled abs of a male model by the prince, while I found myself cornered against a wall by the enlightened one. Together, we lamented, "System, are you truly incapable of handling this?" In a lavish mansion, the atmosphere was charged with tension. My friend and I huddled before the surveillance screen, watching the throngs outside hurling insults at one another. Yun On Yue exclaimed, "Lu Shuha, you're utterly incompetent. After 5 years of strategizing, you still haven't vanquished the first love in the enlightened one's heart. You've brought shame upon our kind." I retorted defiantly, "And you? Aren't you equally disgraceful? The canary of your prince is practically perched atop your head, yet you still dare to laugh." We exchanged barbs, each eager to expose the other's shortcomings. "What shall we do now?" Yun On Yue slumped despondently to the floor, raking her fingers through her hair. I buried my face in my hands, lamenting our misfortune. Initially, we had united to save the second and third male leads, laboring for 5 arduous years. She transformed the neglected and reclusive Bai Genie into a revered prince of the capital, while I rescued the morose youth Shen Yufan, ensuring he flourished as the esteemed enlightened one. Now we were both pregnant, and victory seemed imminent. Little did we anticipate that the prince would be discovered harboring a canary, and the enlightened one's unfulfilled first love would return home. Upon learning that they would go to great lengths for their beloveds, we were left in utter dismay. Our mission was abruptly deemed a failure. I sought clarification from the system, only to witness it flicker ominously before plunging into darkness. Fuming, I stomped my foot. A poor review was a must. At that moment, the door's numerical lock clicked open, and led by the first love and the canary, a crowd surged in, encircling us. The livestream's camera zoomed in on our bewildered faces. The canary, with tears in her eyes, implored, "Sister, my journey with Brother Genie has not been easy. Please, do not tear us apart." Meanwhile, the first love unleashed a torrent of vitriol. "If you crave affection, then perish. Do not cling to my man like a leech, you wretched thing." My friend and I exchanged glances. Though we had kept a low profile, surely we were not so obscure as to go unrecognized? What audacity propelled them to confront us directly? "This is my wedding photo." With Shen Yufan, I began to retrieve my phone, only for the first love to swat it from my grasp. "Using your decayed flesh to ensnare my boyfriend, and now you dare to edit pictures. What shamelessness!" I staggered back from her shove, collapsing onto the floor. Yun On Yue attempted to assist me, but the canary clung to her, rendering her immobile. The live stream was awash with vile insults. Ugh, what a disgraceful creature. Shameless. Ruining others' families, truly a reflection of your wretched upbringing. The first love surveyed the scene, spotting anything connected to Shen Yufan, and proceeded to demolish it. The canary seized the opportunity to strip Yun On Yue of her precious jewelry. The chaos was overwhelming, and as Yun On Yue could bear it no longer, she turned to me. "Shall we retaliate?" I met her gaze. "If you strike, I shall too." Yun On Yue delivered a powerful elbow strike that sent the canary staggering several steps back. I was unwilling to be outdone, so I retaliated with a resounding slap to Bai Yueguang's face. With those 2 swollen lumps beneath her brows, can she only gasp for breath and not comprehend? I have already declared that I am wed to Shen Yufan. Can she not grasp human language? Seizing my phone, I marched to the entrance, thinking, does she believe anyone can just reside in the ancestral home of the Shen family? Yun On Yue also brandished her phone, thrusting it into the canary's face. "Do you not have a clear understanding of our roles as each other's mistresses?" The onlookers analyzed our complicated relationship and reached a conclusion. This was a self-staged charade. Public opinion swiftly turned against them, and they left, battered and humiliated. Yun on Yue and I collapsed onto the ground, still catching our breath when the door was kicked open once more. Bai Genie stepped forward and slapped Yun on Yue. Who gave you the right to touch her? I rushed in and returned the slap, positioning myself protectively behind Yun on Yue. Bai Genie, do you dare lay a hand on her? If it weren't for her efforts to smooth things over for you all these years, you would still be languishing in the Bai family. Bai Genie's tone was icy. I never asked her for help. He then issued a menacing warning. Anyone who touches my people will pay with their life. Before departing, he cast a glance my way. Take care of yourself. Do you think Xin Yufan will let this slide? A shiver ran through me. Xin Yufan, who seemed harmless with his ever-present prayer beads, was actually far more ruthless than anyone else. Last time, he merely heard someone speak ill of Bai Yueguang and shattered their leg. This time, after I struck her, I would surely face dire consequences. Yun Anyue gazed at the pregnancy test, a bitter smile gracing her lips. She had originally intended to surprise him. I caressed my belly, my eyes stinging with unshed tears. Both of us were orphans, and while reading, I felt our experiences mirrored one another's. Thus, when Yun Anyue recklessly approached Bai Genie to save him, I was not surprised. For I too wished to protect that once weak boy who had been kidnapped and violated. With all my strength, we were both healing through the acts of redemption and being redeemed. Yet, the falsehood remained a falsehood. Yun Anyue wiped her face, declaring, I'm done playing this game. Do I want to die? I resolved, if you die, I shall die too. What about the child? I inquired. If I no longer want my father, why concern myself with the child? She waved her hand dismissively. We quickly reached a consensus to seek a way out of the system. However, while we were at the hospital discussing our affairs, we encountered Bai Genie. Bai Genie, supporting the canary, immediately began to interrogate. Have you been following me? 3. Could it be that you knew my baby was ill and wished to feign an ailment to win me back? The canary, with a charming facade, hid behind Bai Genie, explaining, it was Genie who was too forceful yesterday. I simply couldn't endure the pain and had to come to the hospital. Sister, don't mimic her. Yun Anyue, unwilling to engage with him, rolled her eyes and attempted to bypass him, only to be yanked back. Apologize to her. On what grounds? Yun Anyue's voice was sharp, akin to a hissing cat. Understand this. She initiated the violence. Yun Anyue continued to reason with him. Bai Genie, imposing and arrogant, retorted, you have already enjoyed the title of the Bai family's young mistress. What harm is there in letting her strike you a few times? No sooner had he spoken than I witnessed Yun Anyue's face flush with anger. In the blink of an eye, she slapped the canary and delivered a kick to Bai Genie. You're blind to the truth. How dare you two act like beasts? Bai Genie stood in the middle, shielding the canary, and forcefully shoved Yun Anyue. Unceremoniously, she tumbled down the steps. Blood streamed down her dress as I rushed forward, shouting for a doctor. 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 Help. She miscarried. She was pregnant? Bai Genie inquired. The canary hastily covered up impossible. My sister hit me so hard. This must be an act. Let us leave. She is in so much pain. She pulled Bai Genie away, and I hurried toward the emergency room. The doctor informed me that the child could not be saved. The multi-organ failure caused by cancer could only be managed with medication, a torturous existence. This was the system's prescribed method of death. I felt a slight relief, thinking the system had a pain-blocking feature. But then I turned to see her curled up, drenched in sweat, biting her lip. System, what is happening? I cried in panic. The system responded, crackling and barely functional. Host, she has transferred all her pain tolerance to you. Thus, she now suffers as a true cancer patient would. My eyes grew misty. Yun Anyue, you wouldn't be harboring ill intentions towards me, would you? Yun Anyue raised her hand to touch my hair. If I die, who will protect you from their bullying? It's better to leave you with more. I was overwhelmed with emotion, tears brimming, but the next moment she added, I'm not at a loss. You've transferred your reward quota to me. I'll enjoy it first. Fine. You have a conscience, but it's not much. I sought out the doctor, intent on alleviating her suffering. However, the authoritative expert had been called away by Bai Genie for an appointment. I called him, Bai Genie. Bring the doctor back. Anyue has cancer. She is in agony. He mocked. Yun Anyue has always been in good health. She was still lively after enduring several cuts for me. And now she is dying after a few days apart? Who are you trying to fool? 4. Bai Genie grew impatient. My baby's stomachache is no trivial matter. She cannot be given to you. If Yun Anyue is to die, then let her die. My tone turned grave. For Shin Yufan's sake, please help me. Alleviate her suffering. No sooner had I spoken than the voice on the other end changed, a familiar coldness filling the air. Lu Shuha, from the moment she returned to the country, we have had no relationship. It was Shin Yufan. He didn't even spare a moment to settle scores with me, instead staying by Yueguang's side. Shin Yufan paused slightly. It will always be. But it can be anyone else. This incident served as a lesson for you, to recognize your true place. He severed our ties with a few curt words, casting me aside like refuse, showing no regard for our past. The laughter on the other end wove into a suffocating net around me. Not a single decent person to be found. Days dragged on interminably. I accompanied Yun Anyue, gossiping while observing the prominent headlines featuring Bai Genie attending various events with the canary. People jested. The young master finally reveals the rose he has been protecting. Shin Yufan occasionally showcased his affection as well, gifting Bai Yueguang the prayer beads he had worn for years, a symbol of his status. The entire internet buzzed with excitement, proclaiming the monk was willing to fall from grace for his deity. Yun Anyue, connected to countless tubes, laughed carefree. When the time comes, mix my ashes with some powder. Even in death, my sister must shine. And be sure to burn a few handsome ones for me. My heart ached slightly, and I scolded her. You wretched creature. You have all the money. What handsome man can't you find? There was no response. She ceased to breathe in my arms. Yun Anyue donated all her organs for cancer research, and I returned home with the remaining ashes. Bai Genie sought to break off the engagement, barging into the villa when he couldn't find Yun Anyue. Where is Yun Anyue? Get her out here. Bai Genie shouted. I pointed to the ashes on the table. She is dead. He froze, knocking over the urn. You're playing this for real? You would go so far as to avoid me with such a scheme? The ashes scattered in the wind. Not to mention, with a bit of powder, it looks quite beautiful. I tossed the death certificate and the organ donation certificate at him, all clearly documented and authentic. He read through them, then tore them apart in disbelief. After seeking confirmation, he finally acknowledged the truth, his face pale and muttering. How could she possibly be dead? I smiled, my words laced with mockery. You shielded the canary so diligently. When you pushed Yun Anyue into the line of fire, why didn't you ask if she would die? You pushed her down the stairs, knowing she was pregnant and suffering from cancer, yet you monopolized the doctor. Why didn't you inquire if she would die? Now look, you've scattered her ashes with your own hands. Bai Genie knelt on the ground, attempting to gather the powder, but it slipped through his fingers like sand. Tears cascaded onto the ground as he wept inconsolably. In a frenzy, he searched for the remnants left by Yun Anyue, desperately hoping to grasp something tangible. Yet he found nothing. Indeed, he had nothing to begin with. Bai Genie became entranced, spending his days clutching the urn, contemplating the depths of despair. When Shin Yufan saw me alive, he visibly relaxed. I will always keep a place for you as the young mistress of the Shin family. Shin Yufan's rare tenderness unfolded. Yet, my child, you are unworthy of life. She saved my life. It is her I love. I stood there, lost in thought, suddenly recalling the moments after I first entered this narrative. The porcelain doll-like figure had been violated by kidnappers and, upon rescue, underwent a drastic transformation. Each day, she would cower in dark corners, wielding a knife to harm others and herself. I approached her day after day, adorned with the wounds she inflicted. After a prolonged journey, I finally reached her side, assuring her that Lu Shuha would protect Shin Yufan for eternity. He harbored a shadow over the business realm. It mattered not, for I would navigate those treacherous waters in his stead. He feared retaliation from rivals. No matter, let those arrows of malice be directed at me. Countless times, Shin Yufan swore before the deities that he would remain by my side for all time. In those moments, his sincerity was palpable, making me ponder the possibility of everlasting love. I have never doubted genuine feelings, yet sincerity can waver like the wind. In the operating room, my heart abruptly ceased, while outside, the beads of his prayer string fell, scattering across the floor. He likely did not anticipate that a mere miscarriage could lead to my demise. In that fleeting moment of closure, the progress of my conquest reached its zenith. I found solace in the thought that I had left behind a gift for him in this world. The system buzzed to life once more. Ding! Congratulations, host, conquest successful. Returning to the real world. With a clang, the system ejected me, and I landed right beneath a railing. I desperately waved to Yun Anyue, who, in a fit of excitement, shouted from above, "Don't just wave. Come up and play." I yearned to strike her down with a single blow. Yun Anyue, I'm stuck. Quickly, pull me out. Upon hearing my cries for help, she hurried down. Are you both out of your minds? I rubbed my neck, wishing to throttle her. The system had already disconnected, leaving only Yun On Yue to bear my wrath. She tossed a wad of cash at me. Still angry? I remained silent. 2 wads, 3 wads. As I gazed at the scattered bills, a smile broke across my face. All right, I'm not angry anymore. Sister, you are my only sister. She pulled me onto the stage, waving her hand dramatically. Look, this is the empire I've built for you. A line of male models entered in response, standing before us, ready for selection. She leaned back, and amidst the gasps, fell into the arms of the male models who caught her securely. Come on, sister. Let us have some fun. She returned to my side, dragging me down to jump. Lying amidst the male models, I mused how easily the wealthy could succumb to vice. For the sake of enjoyment, Yun On Yue bought the entire venue. Together, we spent 2 years traveling the world in wild abandon, fueled by her wealth. Once the novelty wore off, we both sighed heavily. Alas, I am devoid of any worth beyond money. Presently, I found no interest in indulgence. The male model seated behind us looked on disdainfully. Ladies, are you interested in what you're discussing? Yun On Yue pouted, her eyes filled with sympathy. Oh, poor little darling. Come here, let me comfort you. I regarded her with disdain as she played the role of the overly affectionate sister. Yun On Yue, you are despicable. What do you know? She retorted, hands on her hips, recounting her abusive father, her ailing mother, her studying sister, and the shattered remnants of him. I am merely doing good deeds. With that, she leaned into the arms of a nearby stranger. I have trouble sleeping. The doctor advised me to rest my head on 8-pack abs. She was so enraptured by beauty that she failed to hear the system's trembling alarm. Only in the final moments did I sense something was amiss. Host. The system has encountered an issue. The target of your conquest has arrived. The music was too loud for me to hear clearly, prompting my inquiry. What do you mean? The target has arrived? Given that our bound system had always been subpar, I instinctively sensed impending danger, my body bristling with alarm. My mind raced faster than my mouth as I ran, calling out to Yun On Yue, run. She caressed the male model's abs, her eyes glazed. What did you say? Speak up, I can't hear you. Where are we running to? In the blink of an eye, Yun On Yue discovered the reason for our flight. As Bai Jini pulled her from the male model's embrace, cradling her in his arms. You cannot escape this time. Bai Jini's voice was cold and resolute. I watched helplessly from the crowd as Yun On Yue struggled in vain, making the decisive choice to flee. Better her than me. One of us must survive. I shouted to her, not caring if she heard, before turning to escape. I leaned against a wall, patting my chest in relief, thankful for my quick reflexes. Just as I believed I had evaded capture, a shadow loomed before me. My wrist was seized, rendering me immobile, as Shen Yufan's gentle voice resonated. Shuha? I knew you had not perished. I gazed at my bound wrist, cursing inwardly. Damn monk, have you traded your vows for madness? In the private room, the 4 of us exchanged glances. Yun On Yue and I silently cursed the system's ancestors. The system nervously rubbed its fingers. Host, I've just leveled up to 50, and I have no ancestors. We fell silent. Isn't the task complete? How can characters from the book manifest in the real world? I demanded fiercely. The system appeared perplexed. Once you 2 departed from the world, everything became chaotic. Their belief values were too high. It caused my system to collapse. It turned its back to us, squatting and drawing circles on the floor. If not for the physical barrier between us, I would have kicked it into oblivion. What are you doing? Send them back. The system grinned sheepishly. I haven't finished leveling up yet. The passage is still closed.
Just hang in there.
The voice grew fainter. It was clear that it had disconnected again. I declared it the most inept system I had ever encountered. I miss you. Shuha, I miss you. Bai Jini and Shen Yufan spoke simultaneously upon seeing our silence. Is it necessary to engage in such awkwardness upon our first meeting? The lecherous man and the scoundrel brother had identical lines. I blinked at Yun On Yue, who nodded in understanding. We spoke in unison.
Who are you?
Do we know each other? She chimed in. You 2 truly disgust me. As soon as the words left our mouths, a brief silence ensued, accompanied by exchanged glances. You both genuinely repulse us.
Who are you?
Do we know each other? The silence enveloped the private room. It became evident that some friends not only failed to understand you, but also lacked any semblance of rapport. I chose to recline and abandon decorum, stating, let us address matters directly. Please spare us the disgust. Shen Yufan approached me, kneeling on one knee. I scoffed. Since when did the knees of a monk from the capital hold such value? He earnestly embraced me. Shuha, without you, I feel as though my life is unraveling. I have traversed countless temples, beseeching every deity, and finally found you. Shun Yufan's voice cracked, his body trembling, each movement delicate, as if cradling a treasure once lost. Yet, all I felt was revulsion. In times past, being near him had imbued me with a trace of Buddhist compassion, compelling me to preserve some semblance of dignity. However, at this moment, I yearned to be my true self. Shin Yufan, I do not reclaim such rotten cucumbers. Just those few words struck him like a dagger, leaving him frozen in place, speechless for a prolonged period. Since my arrival, he had likely never heard anyone speak to him in such a manner before. Once, I had shielded him from all vile words. Now, I had unveiled the wounds festering in his heart. Shin Yufan's hands quivered, his eyes glistening red.
No.
It's not true. He shook his head, tears streaming down his cheeks. Shuha, please don't do this. I was wrong, truly wrong.
Don't abandon me.
I broke free from his embrace and forcefully pushed him to the ground, exclaiming that if he recognized his wrongs, he should just perish. The argument had driven Shin Yufan to a state of illness. He sat vacantly in the corner, rendered mute, as if ensnared by those unspeakable memories. Yet who truly cared? Our confrontation had reached its conclusion, while Yun Anue's turmoil was just beginning. Bai Genie, on the brink of uttering an apology, was swiftly interrupted. After all, it is common knowledge that no one believes a man's apology. I advised him to leave, to quit playing the repentant rogue, for it was utterly nauseating. Yun Anue, true to her tempestuous nature, left Bai Genie blushing in embarrassment. Unable to match her fierceness, he prepared to resort to brute force. Sensing the escalating tension, I had yet to rise when the door to our private room was flung open. A male model from the establishment barged in, shielding us behind him. Jia, are you both all right? Yun Anue, tears brimming in her eyes, was deeply moved, declaring that they should all receive a raise. Bai Genie, the young master, was incensed, his anger boiling over as he shouted, "Who the hell are you all? How dare you meddle in the affairs of the Bai family? Do you wish to meet your demise?" He still fancied himself the exalted prince of the capital S elite. I cared not for his family's reputation. Anyone who dared to harm our boss would face our wrath. A fresh round of insults ensued as they safeguarded us, preparing to exit the room. Bai Genie charged forward, fist raised, and without a moment's hesitation, the brawl erupted. The scene appeared chaotic, yet it was merely our unilateral assault on him. Bloodied and battered, Bai Genie glanced up at Yun Anue. It hurts so much. She cast a sidelong glance at him. Good, it should hurt. If you dare lay a finger on me again, I will take your life. Then, surrounded by the young men, they departed, not forgetting to check on them along the way. Oh, my dear, where are you hurt? Does it hurt? Abandoned on the ground, Bai Genie lay ignored, resembling a forsaken stray dog. I had thought they would relent, yet to my surprise, they were resolute in their pursuit, clashing with us. Bai Genie took to lingering in the bar, clinging to Yun Anue day in and day out, toiling tirelessly, solely hoping for a glance from her. She, however, acted as though he were invisible, courting various male models each day. Just as he became excessively clingy, she slapped him across the face. The situation escalated further when trouble arrived at the bar. Is it your establishment that lacks shame, constantly hiring pretty boys to seduce my wife? Smash it! A group of burly men stormed in, clearly looking for trouble. Yun Anue sprang to her feet beside me, rushing to defuse the situation. Oh dear. Let us talk this out. We're just a small business. I attempted to intervene, but Shun Yufan restrained me. Don't go. It's dangerous.
Get lost,
I retorted, shaking him off and positioning myself beside Yun Anue. Several employees had already sustained injuries. In this line of work, disfiguring someone is tantamount to destroying their means of livelihood. This deeply pained Yun Anue, who called for the bodyguards, intent on retaliating. Before we could act, Bai Genie rushed out first, seizing a bottle and smashing it over one of the men's heads. Blood poured from the wound as they sought to exploit the situation, adamant about pressing charges. If you don't pay us, we'll call the cops and ensure you rot in jail. Yun Anue had no intention of financially supporting Bai Genie. Let them report it. Anyone who doesn't he is a coward. The police took Bai Genie away in handcuffs, and he stared in disbelief. I did all this for you, he exclaimed. How could you be so heartless as to let me go to jail? Yun Anue, entwined with the male model, responded with disdain. Did I ever ask for your help? Mind your own business. He was dragged away, howling in protest. After half a month in detention, he emerged, seeking an explanation from YunOnyue. I've been a target for so long, serving as a shield for you and your little canary, surely. It isn't too much to ask for a return on my investment? Bai Genie fell silent. YunOnyue, seizing the opportunity, elevated him to the status of the bar's star attraction. Every eye-catching event featured him, showering him with accolades while bestowing upon him only fame, devoid of tangible benefits. She exploited him relentlessly, having him tirelessly court wealthy women for sponsorships, reaping substantial profits and inciting envy among countless others, transforming him into the bar's golden goose. Aren't you going to think of a way out? I inquired, observing Bai Genie being beaten at the back door. YunOnyue stretched lazily, uninterested in devising a plan. If he doesn't want to return, let him stay. What's wrong with having an extra pair of hands for free? Besides, with the current competitive pressures, my precious ones could find themselves targeted at any moment. It's beneficial to keep him around to divert attention. Bai Genie lay motionless on the ground, every word of YunOnyue sinking into his ears. Tears glimmered in the corners of his eyes. Witnessing him in such a bloodied state reminded me of the days when YunOnyue was hunted. Once an unremarkable illegitimate child of the Bai family, he had begun to shine, capturing the attention of many, even rumors circulating about him being the rightful heir. The Bai family's legitimate heirs and rivals, unable to locate Bai Genie, resorted to capturing YunOnyue, believing they could leverage her to coerce the young prince into submission. Yet little did they know, the prince was entangled with the one he truly cherished. YunOnyue had been stabbed multiple times, nearly losing her life on that fateful rainy day. She harbored a vengeful spirit. Unable to forget past grievances and unwilling to reconcile, she sought to reclaim all the injustices she had endured. I stepped backward, the person trailing closely behind me. Shin Yufan's gaze was firmly locked on me. Shuhi, look, I'm not sure if they're suitable. He held two crumpled infant garments, one pink, the other blue. Unlike Bai Genie, Shin Yufan despised contact with others. These were the fruits of 3 days of labor for him. Gone was his previous air of superiority, replaced by an anxious eagerness to please me. I took the garments from him, examined them, and then tossed them into the trash can amidst his delighted gaze. He was even more despicable than Bai Genie, capable of inducing disgust. I clapped my hands and met his eyes. You are unworthy of being my child's father. Shen Yufan grew frantic, blocking my path. Shuhi, I've realized my mistakes. I can forsake the Shin family name. I can stay here, and we can still have children. I met his gaze with calmness. He faltered, his voice dwindling to a whisper. What must I do for us to return? We both understood that there was no going back. To avenge the disgust he had just inflicted upon me, I told him that he must open a branch of the bar, and then we could discuss things amicably. As a result, he threw himself into the task with reckless abandon. The branch opened in a location rife with chaos. I severed all the necessary connections. He had been out of the business for too long, without the Shin family name, without me. He found himself struggling. After finally establishing some connections, he was forced to endure humiliation at the dining table. Shu He, can you come pick me up? Late at night, I received Shin Yufan's desperate call. I remained silent and hung up. The phone rang incessantly. Unable to tolerate it any longer, I answered with a barrage of curses. Shin Yufan, can you just leave? A derisive laugh came from the other end. So, you're the little lover of President Liu? I recognized the voice as a frequent patron of the bar. The illegitimate daughter of a listed company's president, with quite a few peculiar indulgences. She had injured someone, and YunOnyue had scolded her in private countless times. He has nothing to do with me, I replied patiently. On the other end, Shin Yufan's intermittent sobs echoed, as if he were trapped and unable to escape. She asked from your bar, if you spend one night with me, I'll withdraw from the competition for the store in the east. The woman's tone carried a long-lost delight. Shu He, please don't. You know what I fear the most. I beg you. Shin Yufan's voice cracked with fear, pleading for my help. Yet this time, I refused without a moment's thought. As long as he doesn't die, the rest is up to you, I said coldly. Ending the call. Time, imperceptibly, mends all courses that have strayed from their paths. Some predetermined fates are destined to meet their conclusion. The next day, I opened the door to find Shin Yufan, dazed and crouched at my doorstep. His complexion was ashen, with flecks of blood scattered across his attire. Upon noticing my presence, he hurriedly tugged at his sleeve, yet I caught a glimpse of the whip marks on his neck through the neckline's gap. It seemed that his escapades the previous night had been rather eventful. Why, instead of seeking out a wealthy mistress, was he squatting at my door? I crossed my arms and raised my gaze to him. Shan Yufan shuffled closer, cautiously approaching me, expressing his desire to be nearer. But I find you rather filthy," I retorted, deliberately covering my nose with my hand and retreating a few steps. His eyes appeared vacant, his hands desperately rubbing his arms, murmuring to himself, "No,
I'm not.
not dirty." He peered over my shoulder and caught sight of his reflection in the mirror, suddenly spiraling into madness. "I am not a seductress. I have not lured anyone," he shouted, charging at the mirror and shattering it with a punch. In his frenzy, he slowly picked up a shard of glass and pressed it against his face. The glass sliced through flesh, revealing bone beneath as blood dripped. "Damn it, stay away from me. I've barely settled into my new house. And you're already causing this chaos. Such misfortune." I cursed under my breath as I called for an ambulance. By the time I arrived at the hospital, he had been wrapped like a mummy. The nurse shook her head, sighing, "Such a beautiful person, what a pity." I pushed open the hospital room door, only to find it empty. Scanning the surroundings, I heard rustling sounds emanating from the wardrobe. Opening the door, I discovered Shin Yufan curled up inside, his eyes filled with terror, his entire being on high alert, keeping everyone at bay. I understood that he was unwell, worse than before. Without uttering a word, I quietly closed the wardrobe door. This time, no one would foolishly attempt to save him. Neither he nor Bai Genie deserved redemption. The secondary male characters in this little world were on the brink of collapse due to our antics, and only then did the system finally come online. Witnessing this scenario, I couldn't help but curse. "What on earth have you two done?" I and Yunanyua sat with our legs crossed, shaking them playfully. "We merely repaid grievances with grievances, avenged enmity with enmity, an eye for an eye, blood for blood." The system, a shimmering blue orb, floated motionless in the air. I began to suspect it might have been frightened to death by us. After scanning the scene, it cautiously patted its little heart, relieved to still be alive. "If you don't send them back soon, I might just perish," Yun On-Yue exclaimed, hands on her hips. It was no wonder. Ever since Yun On-Yue announced her desire to marry, Bai Genie had been kneeling outside for 3 days. The entire internet was accusing me of being ungrateful, heartless, and disloyal. I clapped my hands in agreement with the first 2 accusations. As for the last one, pure nonsense. Yun On-Yue rolled her eyes at me. "How can you laugh at me? Look at that monk." I peered through the window to see a person huddled in the corner under the eaves. Having been shaved bald for treatment of facial injuries, truly resembling a monk. The system attempted to be endearing. "He just leveled up and came looking for you. No need to rush. I'll send them away right now." As soon as they saw us emerge, their eyes lit up in unison. The air around us suddenly felt thin, as if they sensed something and struggled desperately. I won't leave." Bai Genie clawed at the railing. "Please come back with me. I truly know my mistakes now. That woman is dead. I swear to treat you well for the rest of my life." No matter how Bai Genie pleaded, Yun On-Yue remained silent, while Shin Yufan's reaction was less intense. He merely stared at me, his eyes rimmed with red. "Please don't abandon me.
I am scared.
You are all I have." Tears streamed down his face, soaking the gauze, glistening with crimson. Under his pleading gaze, I smiled brightly, unhesitatingly pressing the send back button. The light curtain vanished, and the world fell silent. Task completed. The system felt invigorated. "Dear, remember to give a 5-star rating." Yun On-Yue threw off her shoes in frustration. "You weren't there when you should have been, causing so much trouble. And you still have the audacity to ask for a 5-star rating. I'm going to file a complaint." The system panicked at her words. "A good review is fine. But you must offer some incentive." I thought quickly, preparing to cash in. Before I could speak, the system rushed on. "How about a time travel experience? Visit another world and try it out." It opened a panel for us to choose from, offering a plethora of genres, from heart-wrenching tales to apocalyptic sagas and ancient narratives. In the end, we both unanimously decided on a redemption narrative. We weren't lecherous. We simply loved to learn. A flash of white light enveloped us. And as we stabilized, we heard sounds from the bathroom, accompanied by muffled sobs. I tiptoed closer, literally passing through the glass. Upon seeing the person inside, I cursed loudly. "System, you dimwit. Why have you brought me into another redemption story?" Thank goodness, it's the same one. Indeed, there was Shin Yufan, the source of my distress. Observing the dilapidated little room, cluttered and chaotic, I noted Bai Genie sprawled on the bed, foul odors permeating the air. Yun On-Yue questioned in confusion. "Aren't they the secondary males? How did they end up in such dire straits?" I touched my nose, remembering that I had leaked some dirt on them before my demise. "Well done, sister. Why didn't I think of taking them down before I died? Yun Anu lamented, scratching her head in regret. Everything unfolded just as I anticipated. The information I released before departing the world had severely weakened them. Countless sought their demise, and they were bound to seize the opportunity to end them. Given that they were never the protagonists of this world, it was only natural for their fortunes to falter. The door swung open, and Shin Yufan's white moonlight entered. Get rid of all this, he commanded. Shin Yufan, damp and cold in the corner, asked indifferently, are you leaving too? The white moonlight burst into laughter. Shin Yufan, you're nothing but a pile of dog waste now. And you still think to curry favor with me? Look at yourself. I nodded in agreement, finding her words sincere. If it weren't for your family's wealth back then, would I have needed to act and deceive you? Shin Yufan finally stirred. What do you mean? What I mean is, it wasn't I who saved your life back then. When I saw you tied up in that warehouse, I merely glanced. Who knew you would pursue me relentlessly? Shin Yufan interrupted. If it wasn't you, then who was it? How would I know? It was dark. And you had scars on your waist. I didn't dare to look. Before I could finish, an enraged Shin Yufan clutched my throat. If it wasn't you, then why did you claim it was? Why? You are the one who insists on believing it is me. His voice gradually weakened, collapsing to the ground, unaware of her fate. Shin Yufan knelt, sobbing uncontrollably. Shuha, it was you all along. Haha, Shuha, how could it be you? He laughed maniacally. I habitually touched my lower back, which had long since returned to its pristine state. In novels, the protagonist's white moonlight often misidentifies the savior. What truly makes a man regret more than a white moonlight is a deceased white moonlight. How utterly kitsch. Suddenly, sparks ignited in the bathroom, flames spreading rapidly. Amidst the blaze, Shin Yufan turned to me, shouting, Shuha, is that you? You've returned. Haven to you. He charged toward me, but passed straight through my form as the flames steadily consumed everything. A desperate voice called from behind, Lu Shuha, you're home. Yun Anue's voice echoed, now distant yet close. There are dozens of male models waiting for us. Damn system. We'll play on our own. From now on, I'll take care of you. I responded loudly, turning decisively. At last, the wish of being supported by my best friend had been fulfilled. The end.